Hello, my name is Cody Koontz. I am in Aviation 216, spring of 2022, and my in-flight emergency project is going to cover a made-up scenario of an in-flight fire. The quick overview of the scenario is a student pilot is completing her first solo cross-country. She's flying from her home base at MQY in Smyrna, Tennessee, to her first stop, which is FYM in Fayetteville, Tennessee. She's cruising along at 4,500 feet when she notices smoke in the cabin. She instantly recognizes the smoke means that there's fire, of course, and she needs to quickly find out where the fire is and follow the appropriate emergency procedures to attempt to extinguish the flames and get on the ground as fast as possible. So first, she's going to look for signs of an engine fire, and that will be flames or smoke coming out of the cowling. If there's any discoloration, bubbling, or melting of the engine cowling skin, that's also another sign that you may have an engine fire, or you definitely probably do have an engine fire. If it is oil fed, it's going to be just the dark black smoke that you're seeing, and if it's gasoline fed, you're going to see bright orange flames. If it was an engine fire, the procedures that the student would want to follow would be to shut off the fuel supply to the engine, and the way she would do that would be to pull out the mixture and placing the fuel selector shut off valve to off. That's going to starve the engine of fuel or any additional fuel. You want to keep the ignition on in order to use up the rest of the fuel that remains in the lines. And doing this may snuff out the fire. And if it does, do not try to restart the engine. If the engine fire is oil fed, try to stop the propeller from rotating by feathering or other means. And then, of course, you're going to want to make an emergency descent and land. Now, if it is an electrical fire, the signs of that would be the smell of a burning insulation and smoke coming from behind the instrument cluster. In case it was an electric fire, the procedures that the student is going to want to follow is she's going to want to attempt to identify the faulty circuit by checking the breakers, instruments, avionics, and the lights. If the faulty circuit breaker cannot be identified, what she's going to want to do is go ahead and shut off the master switch and the alternator switch as soon as she can, just to cut off the power that is creating this fire. Hopefully that stops the fire, but as a note, any materials that may be ignited already could continue to burn. And she's going to want to land as soon as possible for this one too. So the main sign that she'll get if this is a cabin fire is that the smoke originates from the cabin, which she'll just be able to see by looking around her and see if the fire is inside the cabin with her. The three main causes of a cabin fire are reckless smoking by the pilot or a passenger, an electrical systems malfunction, or a heating system malfunction. And the procedure to follow for a cabin fire, she's going to want to attack the fire, and that means take the extinguisher out from under her seat or wherever it is on her aircraft and attempt to put out the fire with that. And then she's going to want to get the airplane on the ground as quickly as possible. If the source of the fire can be identified, then it should be controlled by shutting down the faulty system. You want to try to remove the smoke from the cabin by opening the foul weather windows, maybe get the airflow going to push that out. If the fire gets worse when opening any of these systems, you want to go ahead and shut those off immediately. You don't want to feed the flames more than you have to. If the smoke is severe enough, you should use an oxygen mask if you have that available to you. And then you want to mitigate the risk by both trying to identify the source of the fire and landing as soon as possible. And a note for this is lowering landing gear flaps may aggravate a cabin smoke problem. And of course, land as soon as possible. So for the scenario resolution, the student pilot deduced that she must be dealing with an electric fire since she smelled burning insulation and did not see any anomalies with her engine cowling. There was no smoke or fire coming out of that. There was no paint melted. And she also did not see any source of fire inside the cabin. The pilot could not figure out which circuit caused the fire, so she looked for the closest airport to land. Luckily, she was only 10 miles from a towered airport with emergency vehicles. She tuned in the frequency and made a mayday call to the tower. This showed that she made an automatic decision to land and prioritized her aviation, navigation, and communication accordingly, which is in the risk management handbook. She received clearance to land immediately, and then she advised Tower she would be turning off her master and alternator switches to stop the fire, or at least attempt to stop the fire. The pilot landed safely, and after the fire was confirmed to be out, she was towed to one of the ramps at the airport where a mechanic met her to fix the problem. The pilot also filled out an incident report with NTSB as she knew in-flight fires must be reported, and she got that from the AIM, page 1042 to 1043. And even though I made up this scenario, I wrote what I would have done a little differently. I think the pilot took the appropriate course of action. She landed safely at an airport. There was nothing huge that really happened, since she did get on the ground safely. But she did not attempt to open her window to clear the smoke, which I definitely would have attempted to. And then, obviously, if it would have made the fire worse, I would have closed it. And that is going to be because the fumes were likely carcinogenic. Um, so it's dangerous to have the fumes of burning electric wires all around you in an enclosed place. And then my citation page, I got my information from the airplane flying handbook, from the AIM and my FAR AIM, and then from the risk management handbook. Thank you.